Member for Collie Preston.
Mr Deputy Speaker. I'd like to start by extending my congratulations to the Honourable Michelle Roberts on her appointment to the role of Speaker, and yourself, Mr Deputy Speaker, on your appointment. In this centenary year of Edith Cowan's election in 1921, that I too should be elected alongside so many other strong women. Davina, you're a credit to your community. It's a privilege that is not lost on me. I'd also like to congratulate the member for Hillary's, Caitlin Collins, on becoming the 100th woman to be elected to this Parliament. Whilst this is an outstanding achievement for women in Western Australia, I have one hope. On behalf of young women like my daughter Bridie, my hope is that it doesn't take another 100 years to elect the next 100 women to Parliament. Thank you to Neville Collard and Richard Wally for last week's outstanding Welcome to Country and Smoking ceremony on the opening day of Parliament. It was a day that I'll treasure. I pay my respects to the Aboriginal elders of the land on which we meet today. I'd like to start by thanking every single one, and there's many, of the electors in Collie Preston who voted for me. I'm excited and humbled by the support, and I promise I'll work alongside you, your families and your communities over the coming years so our region has the opportunity to thrive. Collie Preston's a diverse regional electorate, from large population centres such as Australind and Eaton, to the small communities of Kirrup, Burracup and Peppermint Grove Beach. This diversity extends beyond simple population size. The electorate of Collie Preston is home to many different towns with their own sense of place and sense of community. From the rural towns of Dardanup, Capel and Jallorup to the more suburban areas like Clifton Park and Millbridge. Each location has developed its own distinct identity. This diversity exists too in the local economies, from mining and electricity generation sectors in Collie to farming and agricultural areas of Donnybrook and the burgeoning tourism industry in the Ferguson, Preston and Collie River valleys. This diversity presents some challenges, but is also one of the strengths of our region and serves to highlight the importance of the role of Collie Preston in the southwest economy. Despite the diversity of the electorate, over the course of the election campaign, I learned that what we all have in common in Collie Preston is quite simple. We want to live and work locally in our regional communities, and we want our kids and grandkids to be able to do the same. My journey to Parliament as the newly elected member for Collie Preston began 49 years ago. I was born and raised in Yarloop, and that's where my story begins. My grandparents ran the Yarloop local store. My nan, Jean Higgins, was the most selfless person I know. Nan used to get up at 4 a.m. each morning to make her pies and pasties with her wood stove, which were renowned as the best in the southwest. One of my first memories is sitting in the back of my granddad's van. The van, purchased from the winnings of the renowned WA racehorse Aquanita, meant my grandfather and I did the daily delivery of piping hot pies to Yarloop's Bunnings Mill, just in time for the mill workers' smoko. The whistle would blow, the saws would stop, and the workers would line up for Mrs. Higgs' homemade pies. My grandparents' store served the town of Yarloop. It was more than a local store, it was a hub for the community. My parents married and became entrenched in service to their community. Regional towns rely on people who are passionate about their local schools, sporting groups, hospitals and local employment opportunities. This commitment to service from a young age became integral to my values and helped shape the person I am today. My parents are amazing people. My dad, who is no longer with us, is the driver for my Labor values. Dad was a tough bloke, a blokey bloke, the life of the party, a sawmiller, later a refinery worker, a union official and a professional debater who never let you in an argument. Dad worked alongside the member for Forestfield, Stephen Price, MLA, as union officials at Alcoa in Wagerup. I'm sure they shared many jokes, alongside the serious business of making sure workers had a safe work environment and they went home safely to their families at the end of every shift. He would have been proud to be here today and would probably have made sure that the member for Forestfield shouted him a glass of red wine at the bar. My mum is the opposite of my dad, a quiet achiever. Her sense of fairness, social justice, and her ability to stand up for what's right, even when you're told you're wrong, made its mark on me. Love you, Mum, and thanks for your support over the years. I attended school at Yarloop Primary, Harvey Senior High School with the member for Dawesville, and then travelled as a Rotary Exchange student, just like the member for Dawesville. But my trip was to South Africa in 1990. It was a year that changed my life and the lives of millions of others. It was the year that Nelson Mandela was released from prison after 27 years. I watched as the country planned for their transition to a democracy and saw firsthand what the move from apartheid to integration looked like in their schools, at the beach, on the buses, in the shops and in society as a whole. I was hosted by Lulu and Peter Myberg, who lived in Brakpan near Johannesburg. Lulu and Peter were teachers and were committed to educating the children of the local domestic workers. They taught these children mathematics, English and Afrikaans. They explained to me that with these skills, black children could gain higher paying jobs such as bank clerks, postal workers, teachers and nurses, thus breaking the cycle of poverty that was rife for millions of black South Africans. It was an experience that changed the course of the rest of my life. It taught me that regardless of your race, your gender, or how wealthy your family is, what a difference the opportunity of education can make. On my return to Australia, and for the next 30 years, I would go on to study and practice teaching. I wanted to work in state schools with significant numbers of Indigenous students to try and make a difference to those kids in places such as Tom Price, Kwinana and Collie. I moved to Collie with my husband and toddler in 2006. I worked as the school's vocational education and training coordinator, helping students find relevant training pathways and getting them ready for employment in the local community. For the last 3 years of my career, I was a deputy principal at the school. Over the last 16 years that I've lived in Collie, I've immersed myself in the life of my community. I've served for 8 years as a Shire of Collie councillor and for 10 years on the Coal Miners Welfare Board. I served as the chairperson at the Collie Early Education Centre, as board member at St Bridget's School, and as the CEO of the Collie Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Along the way, I crossed paths with a bloke named Mick Murray. More on that later. In a way, each of these experiences led to me being pre-selected as the Labor candidate for Collie Preston. It could be likened to lining up the holes in a piece of Swiss cheese. In July 2020, I took leave from the Department of Education to campaign full-time. I landed the dream team for my campaign. Campaign Director, the Honourable Dr Sally Talbot, and Campaign Manager Kelly Paul. Given this wasn't even your day jobs, it was a huge commitment. The dream team pushed me to my limits, but also pulled together the most incredible team to support me. We all had the same unwavering vision to retain the seat of Collie Preston for Labor after the retirement of the Honourable Mick Murray. To Sally Talbot, you are the real-life version of the Karate Kid's Mr Miyagi, mentoring me with quietness, patience and a generosity beyond words. To Kelly Paul, thank you for your unwavering dedication, enthusiasm and doggedness to get me elected. Although a simple thank you will never be enough, I thank you and your boys, Haimana, Alex and Tane. Thank you to Sally Kelly and the Honourable Don Punch, who brought me one of the greatest gifts of my campaign, Karen Steele. Just like her name, she's built of tough stuff. Like me, she's a passionate Aries. She's left-handed and, be prepared, a sympathetic crier. I thank you for everything, my friend. Thank you to the Collie and Australian branch members and our branch presidents, Louise Knox and Gary Benton, for your support and friendship. Thanks to Cameron Membry, Bill Hamlet, Marie Quinn, Renee Chappell and Tyrrell Houghton, my regular volunteers during the campaign. Thanks to Ian Dawes, Peter Knox, John Ford, who, as the campaign ramped up, so did you, and to those who helped cover hours and hours of pre-poll and polling days booths, thank you. To Christine and Alan Jauncey, you are the best. Thank you to the unions who supported me, Steve McCartney and Alex Cassie from the AMWU, Wayne Wood and Jill Hugo from the ASU, and Greg Busson from the CFMEU. Thank you to the union delegates, members and supporters for helping spread the message in your workplaces and in your communities. To Tim Picton, WA Labor State Secretary, thank you for the support and always taking my calls, even when they were accidentally pocket dials about pretzels. An extra special thank you to Ellie Whittaker, WA Labor Assistant State Secretary. I'll put my teeth back in. You are a powerhouse, an incredible advocate for women and a friend. Thank you to Ashley Buck, Sophie Hannibus, Louise Pratt and Juliana Plummer for your support. Thanks also to my band of willing door knockers who over the months included members of Young Labor, WA Labor, the AMWU and the ASU. You came along with bubbling enthusiasm, renewing the momentum of what had become the hard slog of door knocking, house after house, street after street. Thank you to my supportive friends who made sure that my kids got to school and sport while I was missing in action for 9 months. Thanks to my new electorate office staff, Karen Steele, Tegan Irving and Gemma Stewart, I look forward to doing great things with you. And finally, thank you to my family, Jason, Bridie and Toby, who couldn't be here tonight. You are the 3 best people I know. My kids are teenagers, so thanks to them for letting me embarrass you with the car stickers and the roadside signage. Yes, Toby, it's all pretty weird, hey? I hope I've made you all proud. The reality is, though, that the namesake of my electorate, Collie, as in Collie Preston, is a town in transition. Importantly, this transition affects not only the workforce in Collie itself, but also in the local economies that depend on Collie thriving as a centre for industry and energy generation in the southwest. Many people who live in the neighbouring areas of Bunbury, Harvey and the Peel regions rely on direct or indirect employment based in Collie Preston. I live and breathe the real-life challenges this transition brings every day. My husband, Jason, works at Muja Power Station as a power station controller. I always tell him, think Homer Simpson but minus the donuts. Although he's highly skilled, changing careers at 50 years of age would be really daunting. Making the right call for the workers of Collie Preston means planning carefully for workers just like my husband and for the jobs of the future. If we get this right, there'll be jobs for miners, boiler makers, plant operators, nurses, teachers, aged care workers, tourist operators and young people alike. The future of Collie Preston, indeed the southwest, relies on me being a strong voice in government to make the right calls about Collie's future. It needs to be a future where new industries are established to create new opportunities for our workers. It needs to be a future where our skilled workforce can transition into new jobs, using their existing skills and having those skills expanded on by further training and innovation opportunities. It needs to be a future where our youth can live with access to quality education and training facilities and the ability to find work in the local area. The McGowan government has this vision well underway with its commitment to the Just Transition process, the Collie Futures and Industry Attraction Funds. These key initiatives pave the way for Collie Preston and the South West to continue to prosper. It's already brought to reality projects such as the West Track Autonomous Training Facility, the only one of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. The new Corlini DFES training facility and its neighbour across the road, Frontline Fire and Rescue, are creating new jobs and bringing manufacturing opportunities to the region. The establishment of the Department of Mines, Industry Regulation and Safety Regional Licensing Centre moved some key government functions to the region and in doing so created local jobs. Tourism initiatives, such as the Premier's favourite pre-election dad joke, the biggest dam mural in Australia at Wellington Dam, have thrown a national and international spotlight on the region. Thankfully, the mural evolved to its current form. Instead of the Premier's initial concept, that of the Honourable Mick Murray reclining across the dam wall. That is a true story. The expansion of Wellington National Park, opening of Lake Kepawari and the mountain biking trails initiatives have helped to further diversify the region. In terms of education and training, many schools and TAFE campuses in Collie Preston have received and will continue to receive significantly increased funding to improve employment outcomes for students. More broadly, across the electorate there have been investments in major road projects such as the Bustle Highway duplication and the Bunbury-Outer Ring Road, aiming to make country roads safer for all road users. We've seen major investment in community assets such as the rebuild of the Eaton Bowls Club, the revitalisation of the Donnybrook Goods Sheds and the $6 million Donnybrook Sporting Precinct, funded by government from the COVID recovery package. Capel got its police station, with upgrades being planned for both Collie and Donnybrook police stations. Deputy Speaker, may I seek an extension, please?
Yes, extension granted.
Thank you. Investment in these projects have seen a remarkable change in Collie Preston over the last 4 years. My job as the representative for the people of Collie Preston will be to work hard in government to bring new projects to fruition. Projects that retain traditional jobs in traditional industries, to grow new jobs in emerging industries, and to listen to the needs of my community. I'll advocate for projects that make Collie Preston a remarkable place to live. The position I find myself in as the newest member for Collie Preston is a testament to the commitment of our Premier Mark McGowan and his team, and to the person who will be forever known as Marvellous Mick, the Honourable Mick Murray. Mick's been the local member for the last 20 years. From winning elections by 34 votes to romping it in by thousands of votes, Mick has shown me how to fight for our community. He's never stopped fighting to create secure local jobs, to improve our local health and education services, and, importantly, to make sure everyone in Collie Preston gets their fair share. Thank you, Mick, for your service to our community. Enjoy your retirement with Anna and your extended family. As we look to the future of Collie Preston, it's a future that no doubt will look different to its past. But it's a future that's been carefully considered and brings a sense of security and confidence for what lies ahead. When I was chosen to replace Mick, I kept being told I had big shoes to fill. Dean Alston's cartoon in the West, the day after my pre-selection, made that very obvious. I'm looking forward to growing into those big shoes of Mick's. I hope those shoes are just like Mick's were, long-lasting, hard-wearing and tough as nails. They're going to need to be, so that I can make sure that the people who call Collie Preston home get the future that we deserve. Thank you.